coloring pages that you make are so adorable. I know they are, but if you're like one of the thousands that are trying to sell their coloring pages online, like an online marketplace like Etsy, but you're seeing very few sales, let me tell you, there is a better way. There's a way to turn your coloring pages into a printable that people actually want to download, print, and get excited about. And the best part of it, it's way easier and way more powerful than I think a lot of people realize. I love making coloring pages, but when most of my requests from customers are for me to make them coloring pages that they can sell, that's telling me something really important. It's telling me that making and selling coloring pages is something that a lot of people want to try with the hopes that theirs is the one that goes viral. I've found a great way to get my coloring pages downloaded by more people that I think a lot of people are overlooking, but it's a method that I think you're going to want to steal because it works, even if you don't have a huge audience or a super popular shop. So I'm going to show you step by step so you can start doing it too. And part one of this method is don't do an entire book. Just start with one page. So this is just part one of this method, and the second part comes a little later, but it only works if you start here with one page. But you're going to want to stick with me throughout this whole process because it's also about how to come up with great ideas for your coloring pages and the best formats to share them in. So focusing on that first part of this method and just doing one page instead of an entire book, the reason being they're faster to make, they're easier to share, and it's a lot less overwhelming to make it. And you might be surprised that with just one single page, you'll get a lot more downloads. A single page seems like a fun activity, so there's less commitment and it's going to take them less time. And if it's a really cute image, people are definitely going to want to download it. There's something about an entire coloring book that just seems a little overwhelming, not just as the illustrator, but as the person coloring in. Ever since I was a little kid, I would get so overwhelmed by an entire coloring book. I never knew where to start. I didn't want to make the wrong choice. But even today, as an adult, getting those adult coloring books, I am still overwhelmed with where to start. So just having one single page that is just a fun activity is a great place to be. And when you release your coloring pages one at a time, you're not just creating art, but you're creating a relationship with whomever you're selling to or sharing with. You're giving people something to download regularly, and you're showing up consistently. And little by little, with each coloring page, you can be creating a collection without the overwhelming feeling of having to sit down and illustrate an entire book. And another reason why creating singular pages is just so more powerful is your ideas are just going to be better. When you're not trying to create a whole book and force a whole theme all at once, you can actually pay attention to what inspires you day to day and make some really great pages based on that. And that's exactly how I come up with my coloring page themes. So if you're wondering how to come up with really great coloring page ideas without getting stuck, here's what I do every time I sit down and want to make one. So step one is I start with something from real life. And it can just be from the tiniest moment that you encounter from your day. A cute animal you saw on a walk, a bird in your yard, or even your pet doing something funny. Real life inspiration gives you instant personality and real poses that you can work with. And then step two would be taking that moment and turning it into a scene. You could ask yourself, what could this little creature be doing? Or what could this flower that I saw on my walk be surrounded by? Or what could it be surrounding? One of my favorite coloring pages I made recently was of two squirrels fighting in an oak tree. I have a lot of oak trees around my house, and I went outside one day and I heard this really aggressive chittering, and it was these two squirrels just like fiercely arguing with each other. And I thought that was just like too cute, but I took that little moment and I decided to create a story around it. So obviously they were fighting over an acorn since they were in an oak tree. And I just created a little scene out of that, and I drew it into a coloring page, and it was really fun, and I hope it was fun for the people that downloaded it as well. Another thing that you can do is create a coloring page with a character you're already developing. If you have OCs, original characters that you like to draw often, turn them into a coloring page. Put them in nature, give them something to interact with, or place them in a cute, cozy setting. Familiar characters make the drawing easier for you, and it turns into a collection over time. If I'm ever in doubt, is to just draw some cute food. Cute food wins every time. You can do something cute like a fox with a cupcake, a bear holding a giant cookie. These ideas are easy and instantly cute and super fun to color. And the last thing I make sure I do every time I make a coloring page is to keep it simple and keep it playful. You're not designing an entire coloring book right now, just one page, so let that one idea be enough. So let's go ahead and make a coloring page now, and I'll take you step by step on how I do it. I'm going to be making this in Procreate with my iPad because that's just been the best method for me. It creates the most formats for the most people, so I highly recommend making your coloring pages in Procreate. So we're going to start off with file setup first because it's going to make a huge difference for whomever downloads it and the user experience that they have. So we're going to make sure that it's a great format to start off with. So in Procreate, we're going to create a new canvas and we're going to set it to 8.5 inches by 11 inches. That's just the standard US letter size. And we're going to set it to 300 dpi. This size prints perfectly on regular home printers, and the 300 dpi keeps your line art super clean. Let me take you through how I actually compose and draw my coloring page, but if you would like a full in-depth video on how to create coloring pages, I've linked a video right here for you to watch. So now that we're ready to create our coloring page, we have to start with step 1, which is have our simple and fun idea. What I've decided is to make this cute little ant that lives inside a blueberry. His little home is a little blueberry. I love cute little scenes in nature, and this one seemed like a fun one to make. Step 2, which is to create a sketch. We're just going to try to capture the idea and block out our scene. So as we're sketching this out, you don't want to overfill your page, but you want to add enough that it gives the coloring artist enough to keep them busy, keeping in mind enough negative space to fill. And while we're here are a few rapid fire things to keep in mind when you're making coloring pages. These make a huge difference on how fun your coloring page is to color. The first one is don't clutter your page. You want detail, but not chaos. Leave some breathing room so the eye has a place to rest. Number 2, make sure there's enough negative space. Give people big areas, enough for markers, crayons, or digital brushes, especially for beginners or kids. Number 3, avoid huge empty areas. Too much blank space can feel a little boring to color, so break it up with some simple elements like leaves or sparkles or hearts or little stars. Tiny things will go a long way and it gives you more to color, so it's going to be more fun. But with number 4, keep your coloring spaces a good size. You don't want things to be too tiny or microscopic. If an area is smaller than like a marker tip, it's going to frustrate someone, and that might also be boring. So once you like your sketch, lower the opacity and draw your clean black line art on a new layer. Number 5, close your shapes always. This is especially important for anybody coloring digitally. Closed shapes mean color fill works perfectly, and one tiny gap can ruin an entire color fill. And number 6, keep line weight consistent. Line weight is just the thickness of your line. Not too thick and not too thin, just clean and nice to color. And so now that we have our black line art, we can just go ahead and remove our sketch layer. Turn off your sketch layer and make sure your final page is clean, simple, and easy to print. So before we format this in order to share it and sell it, we want to finalize it by cleaning it up a little bit. So before I export anything, I go through and clean it up really quick. And I'll even center the artwork to the page just to make sure that it's perfect. These tiny adjustments make a huge difference with how your final coloring page looks. So now that it's nice and clean, we're ready to export it. We're going to turn this page into something printable, but also keep it digital in case someone wants to keep it in Procreate. The first thing we want to do though is turn off our background color. So we'll go to our layer stack and then scroll all the way to the bottom and uncheck background color. Now this is ready to export as a transparent PNG. So we'll go to Actions, Share, and then tap on PNG. And you can either airdrop this to your computer, you can save this as an image to your camera roll, or save it to your files, whatever works best for you and how you share these online. Exporting it as a transparent PNG will allow whomever that is downloading this to color it in using their favorite digital art app. And for the next two formats, we're gonna go ahead and turn back on that background color. So we'll go back to our layer stack and scroll all the way to the bottom and recheck that background color. Now we'll go back to actions and then share and then tap on Procreate. And we're gonna share this as an actual Procreate file, allowing someone to just import it right into Procreate and color it right here in the app. And finally, we'll go ahead and export this as a PDF, which will be something that someone will want to print. So we'll go to Actions again, Share, and then tap on PDF. You can choose your PDF quality. I just choose better because that I just assume it's not going to be too big, but it's not going to be too small. And the PDF is so important in case someone wants to print this for their kids or for their classroom. It gives whoever is downloading this a lot of choice on how they want to color this in. And here's just a little bonus tip that not a lot of artists think about. Create an exclusive color palette to go with your coloring page. This is especially great for people that want to color this in digitally, especially in Procreate. This can be as simple as 5 to 8 colors that fits your theme, but I usually make an entire color palette because personally I like options. It makes your page feel more intentional and it removes decision fatigue for beginners, and it turns your coloring page into a coloring kit. This tiny bonus makes your download feel much more premium. And now it's time for the second part of this entire method. And this is the fun part because it's all about how you're sharing your page and putting it out there in the world and actually getting seen. So before you might have thought, okay, I finished my coloring page or I finished my coloring pages. Let me go ahead and list these on Etsy or whatever marketplace that you sell on and just hope for the best. But a lot of times that is the fastest way to have your artwork just disappear into the void, unfortunately. Where you share your coloring pages and why you choose that platform can make a huge difference. And here's something that you need to learn. Etsy and any other online marketplace are not the only option, and they might not be the best place to start. And while you don't have to stop selling your coloring pages on these online marketplaces, because this is where people go and download things, there is another option that you want to consider. When it comes to my coloring pages, the platform that has given me the most success and the most engagement with those specific coloring pages is actually Patreon. Sharing my coloring pages as a perk for paid members has made a huge difference. And it's not because it's made me the most money up front, but it has allowed me to build a community. Building a community has given people a reason to actually care about my coloring pages, where Etsy really didn't allow for that. When someone's going on Etsy, they're usually just passing through to get what they want. But when someone goes on Patreon, it's much more intentional and they want to support the artist or whomever that they're on Patreon for and get to know them a little bit better. And then when you share something with them, it creates a really fun relationship. So when I started uploading my coloring pages on Patreon, it created a community around them and made downloads much more consistent. And because these people are supporting me every month, it's given me a lot of motivation to get better with every page that I draw. So Patreon really has given me something that Etsy doesn't really provide. An audience that actually downloads my coloring pages and gets excited for the next one. If you're starting to create coloring pages and you're asking yourself, where should I upload this to sell it or share it? You might do well to also ask yourself, where can I share this coloring page that is an experience, not just a product? So if we're gonna sum up this entire method, it's this. Start with just one page and then share it with a community. Building that relationship with a community can create a built-in customer base for when you actually do create that entire coloring book or an entire digital coloring book. I know it's really easy to compare yourself to another artist that is selling a viral coloring book, but the best thing you can do is just have fun and be patient with yourself. And as a thank you for watching this video, I'm giving the 3 coloring pages I demonstrated drawing in this video available to download for free, no paid membership needed, with a color palette as well, and they will be linked below to download from my Patreon page. If you want a more in-depth video on creating coloring pages, go watch this video right now and you'll get all you need to create cute character design for your coloring pages.